Welcome to the UCLI Legal Lounge, a podcast helping you on your journey to law school. My name is Sabrina Ruiz-Monroy, and I'm the Associate Director at UCLI. Each episode, we interview law students, lawyers, and law admissions experts to bring you insights and tips on making the path to law school a little bit easier. This podcast is brought to you by the Utah Center for Legal Inclusion, or UCLI for short. UCLI is a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to advancing the goals of fairness, opportunity, and inclusion in Utah's legal profession. Learn more at utahcli.org. Our episode this week is brought to you by the Utah Podcast Studio. The Utah Podcast Studio is a premier recording facility located in West Jordan, Utah. It's dedicated to empowering creators by providing a world-class environment for audio and video production. Their mission is to amplify voices with confidence and clarity, fostering a creative space where impactful stories are shared and communities are built. Learn more about them at utahpodcaststudio.com. And for today's episode, I'm joined by Shubham Shah. Shubham is a member of the litigation and restructuring and special situations practice at Greenberg Traurig Salt Lake City office. His work spans a wide range of complex matters, including governmental investigations, white-collar crime, productions liability, and general commercial litigation. In addition to his litigation work, Shubham has experience in Chapter 11 bankruptcy cases and corporate restructurings, as well as matters involving the SEC and DOJ nationwide products liability cases and creditors' rights. Today, we're excited to not only learn about his work, but also dive into his journey, his perspective on his confidence and growth in the legal field, and the lessons that he's learned along the way. Welcome and thank you for being here, Shubham. I'm really excited to have you.
Thanks for having me on. This is awesome, and I'm excited to be here.
We are just wanting to focus a lot on your journey, your experience before law school, during law school, and now as a practicing attorney, and how far you've come. I've had the opportunity to meet your family as well.
That's right.
They're fantastic and
I love them.
Such a huge help, and I'm sure we'll touch a little bit about that as
Absolutely.
well. But let's focus on that journey and the lessons you've learned along the way. If you could tell us a little bit, Shubham, about your background and what led you to even pursue a career in law.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was always very talkative and argumentative as a child, and people would tell me growing up, you should be an attorney. And I always just thought, okay, thank you. But now that I'm older, I realize, they wanted me to shut up. But,
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't blame them. I do talk a lot. If you know me, you know I never stop talking. Anyway, on the journey to law school, I think for me, so many things had to go right for me to even venture into this field. And that's one thing that I wanted to touch on is I think a lot of minorities, law school is not something that they grow up thinking that they'll be able to do. And that was definitely the case for me. I never thought I would, go to law school. And I had to have a lot of things fall into place for that to happen, which, first of all, big thank you to BYU. I mean, for, having even a program as cool as the Achievement Fellow program, which I got to be a part of, and me and, 6 other amazing people and some of my, closest friends. And we got to do this together, and that was something that was super cool. And if BYU and, in conjunction with firms across the state hadn't done that program, I don't think I would have gone to law school. I don't think that was something that I would have done. It was definitely for me at the time, it was, I'm going to law school for, a scholarship, or I'm not going. Mm-hmm. And so I never really grew up thinking that's what I wanted to do, but it was always at the back of my mind. First of all, I loved court shows. I'm a big movie and TV fan, so I knew I was going to bring that up. But more so than that, I loved reading and writing, and I loved that's not to say I didn't like math. I was a stats major for my undergrad, and so love math. Math is my second love, as I like to say. And so it never really was something that I thought I would position my college career towards going to. But things just happened that, things fell in the right place. And the summer of COVID happened, and I was going to work that entire summer, but, my job was no longer in person because of COVID. And so I was like, what am I going to do with my time? Oh, that's right. I could actually study for the LSAT. And so that fell into place. BYU just that year came up with this amazing, incredible program.
That taught the LSAT or?
Oh, it was the Achievement Fellow program.
Oh, I think there are definitely listeners here in Utah that are like,
Yeah.
What is the Achievement Fellowship program?
It's one of the coolest things. I mean, without that, definitely, like I mentioned, I don't think I would have gone to law school. But basically, it helps students who from all different walks of life who would have qualified for law school regardless, but who have been through a lot of trouble and who have not had a straight and narrow path, for lack of a better term, towards going to law school. And this program is aimed at helping those people, go through law school. And I got to do that. And I got to be the first, be a part of the first class and of doing that.
Oh, so you were like the pilot.
Me and like 7 other amazing people, yes.
Wow.
And, just with that program, I mean, the reason why I bring it up is because, BYU is still taking donations. So if you're listening and want to donate to the Achievement Fellow program.
That's the plug-in for the Achievement Fellow program.
It's definitely something that changed my life. And I know that it's changed countless other lives. And I know that it will continue to change countless other lives. But for there to be a continue, it requires people like me and you and other members of the community donating and helping out and doing things. And so definitely wanted to plug that in there. But yeah, I think that's about it. I think, a lot of things had to go right for me to go to law school. And one of my goals is, being an attorney and trying to, be a part of as many organizations as I can in Utah. It's to remove those barriers for people that, one, look like me, people that, who have been through, crazy things. And I would love for everybody applying to law school to not have a topsy-turvy path as I did, and for more people to be clear in their efforts and more people to know that this is what they want to do. And not everything has to go right for people to go to law school.
There's no perfect way to become an attorney. And we've had attorneys beforehand come on this podcast and they've said, like, I was a paralegal first, or I, waited and did 2 gap years before applying because that's what worked with me and my lifestyle and my family. So everyone is definitely going to have a different, perspective and a very different story. But I really appreciated that you said, okay, maybe your background is seemingly messy, quote unquote messy, but you can still attain this degree. You can go to law school. And we're definitely going to dive into more of those kinds of questions, but I really appreciate you telling us more about your background. And Shubham, are you from Utah? Are you?
No. I was born in India, but I grew up in Nairobi, Kenya.
Whoa.
But
okay.
I moved to Utah when I was in high school. And so I've been in Utah since. And I went to Corner Canyon High. Go Chargers. But it's been fun. It's been a good time.
What made your family want to go to Utah specifically?
Oh, I mean, it was just, like I said, so many things had to go right. And, I think that's a different story for another day.
Yeah.
But it's a much longer story. But things just had to work out, and I'm glad they did. I love Utah. It's a beautiful place to be in, and love that I get to do this.
Yeah.
So, absolutely.
Thanks so much. Wow. Yeah, definitely very different from Utah. So I love
a little bit different.
I love learning about people's backgrounds. Well, you stated in one of your backgrounds on your paper that I read was that you felt like you were behind the 8 ball. Yeah. You felt like you didn't really know what was going on. Can you kind of walk us through that?
Absolutely.
That feeling preparing for law school?
Absolutely. So before law school, I worked so I graduated in December of 2020 from BYU and spent the next 8 months working for a startup down here in Draper doing real estate work. So nothing related to legal work.
Okay,
Completely different, which was a lot of fun. And so I never...
But that taught you a lot of things.
Absolutely. It taught me how to be an adult because I was like 20 years old. And I was like, okay, I just graduated college. I'm about to go to law school. What am I doing? But more importantly, I'd say I never really I never had time to prepare for law school right in that middle, 8 months. But more so than that, I think being behind the 8 ball, I'll start off with a story. I remember my first day of class. It was property, and our professor was notorious for cold calling you, bringing you to the front of the stage. He's amazing, but he would bring you to the front of the stage, and in front of the whole class, these are people you've never met, before, or
you're nervous. Of course.
And you're asked to explain this case. And one, I had no idea what cold calling was. One, I had no idea how to prepare for a class. Like, no one told me that you'd have to.
And no one really does.
Right? Nobody, I will say, BYU's undergraduate program really helped in hey, law schools, you're going to read a lot of cases. But I go to class. This is my first day in property. We're all wearing masks. This is during COVID. And our professor would bring up different anecdotes to call you in front of the whole class. And the first case we did in property was Pearson v. Post, which was about, a fox, I want to say, or something like that. It's been a while. And it was, if you've gone to law school, you know exactly what case I'm talking about. It involved an animal. And me being from Kenya, I wrote in my intro letter, to our professor being like, I love animals because, I've done a million safaris my whole life.
Right.
And so I got cold called. I was the second person in my class to get cold called. And I got called in front, and our professor was like, tell me about this case. Now, I didn't know that we had to read the cases beforehand. Like, I had no idea that you're supposed to, read the cases beforehand. You're supposed to know what cold calling means. You're supposed to, basically be in front of your whole class being asked a whole bunch of questions. I had no idea about any of this. And
wow.
I go in front, I make up some BS, and I don't even remember what I said. It was some of the most when you don't know the answer, but you're going to keep going around the bush and agreeing with somebody so that they're actually happy with what you said, but they don't really have an answer. And then maybe by the time they realize that, oh, this guy didn't actually tell me anything, it's too late.
Yeah.
Class is over. Professor's at home thinking about, holy crap, Shubham didn't really say anything, but he said a lot of words. And so for me, it was like, I was up there and I was like, holy crap, what am I going to do? I don't know. I didn't know. So nobody told me to read a case. Nobody in my family's an attorney, I had no idea. And I made some stuff up. And the funniest part about all of this is I sat down, and the person sitting next to me, my good friend Marin, and she was like, hey, great job. And I was like, whoa, great. And then people were like, dude, you killed it. And I was like,
I had no idea.
I just made all that up.
I made it up.
Completely made that up.
Oh, man.
And so I had no clue. And that's just a microcosm, right? I had no idea what big law was. I had no idea what medium law was, small law was.
Oh, I didn't know what OCIs were?
I had no idea what OCIs were. I had no idea I had no idea. People, I remember week 2, people were making outlines, and I was like, what outlines? My plan this weekend is to go to the BYU football game, which we beat Utah that weekend. I still remember. It's a good win. Thank you, Jaron Hall. And so, I still remember, my plan was I'm going to go eat a burger and go to the game. And people were like, oh, you're not starting to make your outline? I was like, what's an outline? And so I had no idea, and so I'm figuring all of this out, and you just feel like you're behind the 8 ball, you don't, I didn't know. The only 2 attorneys I knew were people from my church group. I didn't know many attorneys. I didn't have an attorney mentor. I didn't know any of this. And I had, classmates who I love and appreciate whose parents were attorneys. And so they knew, and this is not
a bad thing or anything.
It's not a bad thing.
Never a bad
Good for
thing.
you. I would love it if my eventual future child became an attorney. Don't do it if you're listening, but just kidding. Do it. It's great. But it's just one of those things where I was just I just felt so behind the 8 ball, and people were already talking about reaching out to law firms within 2 weeks. And for me, people are like, oh yeah, I know a guy at Kirkland, and I was like, yeah, my buddy works at Costco. What are you talking? I know what Kirkland is.
Kirkland Ellis.
And I'm not Kirkland and Ellis, the biggest law firm in the world. And so
funny.
I had no idea. And I'm just kind of sitting there. And I will say that this was not just my experience.
I would imagine.
Talking to other people from similar backgrounds, I would, ask my friends, do you know what Kirkland is? He's like, Costco? Okay.
Yeah, Costco.
We're on the same page.
We're talking about that, not
on
the
the
law
same
firm.
page.
That is so funny. Well, and honestly, I think that I'm sure those other achievement fellows were probably feeling the same way, and maybe some other students as well who might have just not said anything. What was the transition for you then? What did you start doing to kind of catch up? Right.
Oh, that's a great question. So, I very quickly realized that I wasn't an English major, right? I was I did math, I did stats, I did coding my entire undergrad. I never really took an English class except a sports English class.
So none of the writing essays.
No.
I
took writing 150, and I think I got an A+. And I was like, I'm done for writing. I don't really need to do anything. And so I quickly kind of knew that I don't think I'm going to be able to compete in terms of grades, right? No matter how much I try, it's going to be an uphill battle for me. But in that self-reflection, I realized that there's some things I'm really good at, which, not to toot my own horn, not tooting my own horn, but I quickly just realized that I'm much better at networking and talking to people and doing things outside of the classroom than I probably would be in the classroom. No matter how much I tried, no matter how many outlines I made, no matter how many practice essays I did, there's going to be people who are naturally smarter than me. There were people who were pre-law. There were people whose parents were attorneys. Like, they knew what contracts, property, torts were ever since they were born. I had no idea about any of this. And so I thought, okay, if I'm never going to beat them in the classroom, and this is not a competition, I wasn't trying to beat my classmates, but if I'm not going to be that good in the classroom, then I'm going to be better at other things. Yeah.
I'm just really impressed that you're able to recognize what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. And that's not to say that those listening are like, okay, wait, so is Shubham telling me I won't ever be able to get an A in that? Like, that's never.
Not at all.
And I think it's just okay, have a real talk with yourself.
Yeah.
Can you, what are you good at?
Exactly.
And can you use that and strengthen it? So no, go ahead.
I'm
really
so
love
glad
that.
you brought this up, Sabrina, because that's such a great point, because everybody who goes to law school was top of their class,
right?
In their undergrad.
The cream of the crop.
It's the cream of the crop, right? Or,
everyone's the best.
Everyone's the best.
Right,
Everybody has been smart their whole life. Everybody was a gifted child. Everybody was told growing up that they're going to do something cool, with their lives. And so it's very hard to have that conversation with yourself, because your ego won't allow it, because you're like, oh, no, if I just put in that much more effort, if I just went to every office hour, if I just, maybe if I started reading the Economist to get better vocabulary. But I mean, I could have done all of that. I thought about doing all of that, but I was like, that's not where my strengths lie. My strengths lie in other places. My strengths lie in networking. My strengths lie in talking to people. My strengths lie in, talking to clients or doing other things like that. And so I realized that very early on. And as soon as I did, I started just doing whatever I can to learn everything about how to get a job. And so that's when I learned about OCIs. I went and annoyed the crap out of our career advisors, because I was just like, hey, tell me, like, how do I do this, kid?
Yeah.
Am I doing this like before? Am I doing this?
Right.
And for 1L summer jobs, like, that was at the goal. That was the goal. I need to get a job for my 1L summer, right?
Yeah.
And initially, I started out the spreadsheet, found whatever law firm I could, under the sun. I just put all their names there. I put a point of contact, and I just started cold emailing people. Like, literally, I started emailing cold emailing recruiters.
For you?
It worked great.
Yeah?
Like, I mean, I had a spreadsheet of around like 150 firms that I just randomly emailed. 150. Like, by the time like December came around, or like I remember preparing for a final.
And you got through all of it, by the way.
It wasn't easy. It was a simple copy and paste email, right? It wasn't that, right? And it was, hey, here's my resume. When does your OCI stuff open? I want to be first in line, right? Like, and that was my emphasis. I was like, look, if they're maybe I don't get the best grades. If they're not going to be impressed by my grades, they're going to be impressed by my tenacity. They're going to be impressed by the fact that I'm annoying. Like, I don't care that I'm annoying. Right. Like, I don't care if I'm annoying. I'm annoying right now. Like, if you're on one of my teams, like at work, I'm going to bug the crap out of you. Like, if I want something like
your coworkers just like, oh, that's your mom. Yeah.
Like, yo, I am going to send you this email on this day, and I'm not going to care, because this needs to get done. Right. And so that's honestly one of the things I will, shout out my previous job, my brother, who is the greatest person I know. He's been so good. Him and my mom, they're the best. But my brother very early on told me that, hey, and he's a very successful businessman in his own right. And so, I was able to learn from him. But one of the biggest things I learned from him was, I don't care if you're annoying, just get the job done. People will appreciate if you get the job done a lot more than if you're annoying,
Actions
right?
speak louder.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's what I took upon myself. And I was just cold emailing everybody under the sun. I was emailing people in New York, emailing people in Texas, emailing people in, Hawaii. Like, I was emailing, if you were a law firm that was paying for a 1L, I probably emailed you. And so
They're all like, we received his email.
You definitely, and you saw my resume. And, so I always did that. And I think that helped me get more interviews initially. And so I remember my 1L first semester ended, and the next day I had like 2 interviews lined up.
Wow.
Like, and it was just like, people were like, we don't even have your grades, but just the fact that you emailed us
impressed us.
Makes us want to interview you. And that's how I got my 1L summer job. Like,
there you go.
They didn't even look at my grades.
That's rare.
They didn't even check my grades. They did not care. I interviewed with them, like, I want to say in December, before anything even happened. And then grades came out, and I was like, I really don't care. Like, it doesn't matter. It was a moot point for me. I had my job. And so that was the one thing that, like, I set myself on a goal. I was like, look, it's going to be tough for me to compete. Not to say that I didn't have great grades. I mean, I didn't have great grades. I had, sort of okay grades. But I knew that, like, if I separated myself in other ways, people were going to look at that and like that. And people did, thankfully. So
There
it
you
worked out well.
go.
But, having said that, it definitely doesn't work for everybody. So
Yeah.
it definitely is not something that I would say, oh, yeah, this is the only path. There are a million other paths. Like,
Yeah.
I was just unique and different, and that's what I did. But there's no wrong way to go about it. Do what is right and see what happens.
There you go. And there's a path for everybody. So I really,
Absolutely.
really appreciate that. And I think with that, we've touched a lot with your experience in law school. I kind of want to go back to one question though, because I'm curious about your experience in the application process.
Mm-hmm.
Did you find any obstacles? What was that like for you? Just, as you were trying to you're like, okay, LSAT. And then you're like, how do I, what's the what's CAS, what's Law Hub, as you were kind of navigating that, what was that like for you?
I mean, I didn't do any prep course for LSAT or anything.
Yeah. Well, they're expensive.
Very expensive. That was the thing for me at the time. I remember being like, okay, because I had the whole summer to myself, since my job was kind of gone with COVID, my internship, and so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna study for the LSAT.
Yeah.
At the time, I didn't have any money. Like for lack of a better term, it was either like I spent $2,000 to $3,000 on a prep course, or it was not an option. It wasn't like spending $2,000 to $3,000 on a prep course was not an option.
Yeah.
And so what I did was I bought a $20 book off Amazon.
Nice.
And that's all I used.
Nice.
And that's all I used. That's literally for, I took the LSAT up a couple times. I didn't love how I did the first time. Second time was much better. But that's kind of how I went about it. And then I went and looked at every single free resource available.
Yeah.
I mean, now I'm guessing it's probably easier. You can just ask AI to get you a list of stuff. But back in the day, I'm talking 2020.
5 years. 6 years ago.
6 years ago. Feels a lifetime.
That's crazy.
But in 2020, I just, went on Google and searched free resources for
Khan
LSAT.
Academy.
Khan Academy was great. Mr. Salman Khan, he's great. Free LSAC prep tests were cool too. But yeah, I just kept repeating it. And I bought a whole bunch I was given a whole bunch of books, like practice essays and practice tests. And so I just did a lot of practice and improved my score and did everything that was free.
Which honestly, it's the hours you put in makes such a huge difference.
100%.
And how was your experience when you were prepping for your personal statement and writing that?
Oh yeah, I mean, that was tough. Writing a personal statement was tough, but I guess not advice, but the thing that worked for me was I never shied away from telling you the story, right? I never shied away from telling you why I'm applying to law school, right? And we can get into that later, but I felt like people needed to know about my story in my personal statement. And so I didn't shy away from it. I didn't lead up to it. I wasn't writing a movie. And I feel like a lot of times, you think of a personal statement and you want there to be an ending. You want there to be a catch that people will be like, okay, yeah, I want to admit person A because they have done this, or they've been top of their class, if they've done great musical stuff or things like that. For me, it was no, I'm gonna tell you exactly why I'm applying to law school. First up, so my and I was very dramatic. My personal statement was pretty dramatic, but it started off with just saying hey, this is what I've done, this is who I am, this is what I've been through. And so just by saying that, I was able to get the reader's attention immediately off the bat. And the reason why I even bring this up is because I was able to extern for a judge, Judge Elizabeth Gunn, for the bankruptcy court in DC, who is the best. And in conversations with her, this was during my 3L year, she told me that the one thing that made me stand out was my cover letter, and how in my cover letter, on the first line, I'm just going to tell you what I've been through, what I've done, and why I'm here. And so those three things,
she appreciated that.
She loved that. And she she told me a couple times that keep doing that. That people don't have time. And if you just tell them exactly those three things, why I'm here, what I've done, and why I'll be an asset to you, then it's perfect. I mean, in a lot of, I'm sure you've heard about it, bottom line up front, bluff, right? That's kind of the approach I had to my personal statements, was just hey, this is me. And then I went and talked about the rest of the stuff. So in lack of a better term, it was I ordered the steak first, and then I asked for the mashed potatoes after, right? That's kind of how I did it. So
it's a good way of putting it.
It was good. It was fine. And that's just kind of who I've always been. Is I'm not gonna beat around the bush. I'm gonna
Yeah.
tell you exactly what I'm talking about and what I mean and what I'm about. And so yeah, it worked out well.
And that's ultimately what they want to know. They're like, okay, why would Shubham be a good asset for Brigham Young University's law school, right?
Because they're getting like 1 billion applications.
They're
a day.
getting so much, especially now.
Yeah, especially now.
right. Like
yeah.
it is actually insane how, and this is something that not only the J. Reuben Clark Law School is experiencing, but law schools all over the country. Just so many students applying, and the cycle's always competitive. And I always feel like each cycle gets even more competitive, but it's just the nature of it. But that's really, really great. I think practical advice, and hopefully students can start practicing that. I think they can take it with a grain of salt as well. Not every way is going to be perfect.
Yeah.
But let's fast forward to, you went through all of that. You did your personal statement. You did your LSAT score, LSAT practice. You got your score. You got in.
Yeah.
How did you feel when you got in?
Oh, it was amazing. I still remember I cried a bunch. It was definitely life-changing. It was awesome.
Did you just call your mom and your brother?
Yeah, I was working with my brother at the time. I remember I ran over to his office, gave him a big hug, and I was like, hey, I got in. And then I called my mom, and then I got in. And then I got a call saying I got the scholarship, which was even happier than the fact that I got in.
So the achievement fellowship?
Yes. Yeah. The call for the scholarship was much cooler. But I mean, they were both great. Thank you, Dean Grover. But they were both great, and it's a great feeling. And you don't really realize how much your life's going to change when you get that call. I mean, I'm sure it's the same for med school. Engineering.
It's nerve-wracking,
It's nerve-wracking, but it's great. It's great. I can't wait for everybody listening to this to eventually have that feeling. It's quite cool.
Wow. And was the achievement fellowship a separate application just for students listening now? Or
I can't fully remember, and I'm not sure what they've done with it now, but I think it was separate. And I think I just added it as an addendum to my initial application.
Okay. Awesome. I think what that could be helpful for students who are like, okay, are there any other scholarships? And I will always 100%. Say the earlier you apply, the better. 100%. Did you apply early, by the way?
Yeah, I applied early. And then I was able to get in right in the normal cycle, which was nice and super helpful. Highly recommend doing that. And also highly recommend taking the LSAT early on. I only took it during my senior year of my undergrad. But I was also late, oh, shoot, I should go to law school. Yeah. Kind of senior, not I'm a sophomore. I should probably take the LSAT sophomore.
Which I feel like it's half of the students are like, I've known since day one because my mom and my dad are attorneys, know. So some students are like that, which great. And then you also have some students who are like, I was an English major or a history major or, whatever else, right? Biochem. And then all of a sudden they're like, I'm going to give law school a shot. And then now they're prepping and they feel like sometimes they're rushed, but also no worries if you feel like you have to take a gap year. Yeah. You didn't, though, right? Didn't. You just went straight ahead.
Well, my gap year was me working.
Right.
So, but yeah, I would, take enough time. I was the youngest male in my class.
Oh, wow.
Which I was 22 when I started. If I were to do it all over again, I think I would have waited a couple more years. I definitely felt like I was really young when I started and everybody was much older. But it was great. I mean, it worked out well for me. But I was. Take your time, man. Take your time.
That's awesome. Thank you. Well, you've worked across several complex areas of law, litigation, white collar crime. What helped you sort of zero in on the area of practice that you are focusing on now? And what kind of advice would you give people as they're deciding what to do?
I mean, I always thought I was going to go into litigation. I always had a litigator personality, as many people have told me, that I agree with. And that's not to say corporate stuff is not great. I've worked on a few deals and it's been a lot of fun. But I just prefer litigation because I prefer the problem solving aspect of it. And I'm sure, in deals you're solving problems too. But in litigation, I like to think of myself as a problem solver. And I think that has worked really well. And that's something that, AI can't replace. I don't know. Maybe they will. But I any time I'm at work or I'm looking at a case, I like to think of myself as, okay, how am I going to help this person solve a problem? And specifically with white collar, I think it's just always interested me. It always allowed me to. So right now I do a lot of work, a lot of white collar work, and I really enjoy it because the process is important. Our legal process is very important, and everybody deserves great representation. But I think this stuff is just very interesting. It's fun to learn, and I would definitely recommend whoever's listening. I mean, I didn't know I wanted to do white collar until I was actually working. But like once I got on it, I was like, no, this is what I like, and that's what I've kind of geared my practice towards. But I do a lot of other stuff too, and the reason why I like white collar so much is just because of its interest. You know, if you're going to be working long hours, you want to do something that excites you, that interests you, that is something that you see yourself doing, you know, for a long time. And at first, I thought those were just cliche words that people used, you know, but then I started actually working and actually becoming an adult, and I realized that no, like I actually like this. I enjoy this. I wake up in the morning and I'm excited to read about this and write about this and talk to people about this. And that has been a lot of fun. And so, yeah, I would definitely recommend do something that like, and this is so cliche, like I'm sure if you could just Google this is the first piece of advice that comes up, but
do what you love.
Do what you love. Seriously, do what makes you happy, because you're going to be working a lot.
Yeah.
And no matter what you do, you know, big law, if you work for the government, if you work, no matter where you work, you're going to be working a lot. There's no escaping that. So you might as well do something you like. And I love white collar, and, you know, it's a lot of fun. I also have been doing a bunch of commercial litigation as well, which is a ton of fun as well.
And I guess for those that are listening right now, what is, I guess in a nutshell, your day-to-day as a practicing attorney in these fields?
No, I'll give you an example. So usually I get up super early, and I'm at work generally by 7:30. I try to get there early. I get there early so that I can just start my day off. I usually work a lot with some East Coast teams, and so I like to be in front of the ball because it's 2 hours ahead. And so I'll usually wake up and I'll have a flurry of emails, so I already know I have to get up, get out, start responding. And so I like to do, and I love it. I like the East Coast timeline. You know, it gets me up in the morning. I'm a morning person, and so 7:38 works great for me. I get there. You know, I generally try to knock out things that I have due coming up in the next few days, and then I like to work on bigger projects. This is probably going to expose the millennial in me, but like I loved The Office growing up, right? And so
I'm sure all those listening are like, oh, we know The Office.
Oh, yeah,
I watched The Office. Yeah.
And so like in The Office, there was a season where Jim and Michael Scott were co-managers, right? I'm sure you remember this.
Great,
and so this is how I like in my day-to-day is I like to get...
I have to look at the camera and pause.
I like to get... Oh, that's right, the gym.
The gym. There you go.
Yeah. I like to do the Michael Scott stuff in the morning. So the day-to-day, I get done with my day-to-day stuff in the morning.
Yeah.
All the things that I have due usually takes me about 3 to 4, billable hours or so. And then I like to focus on more big picture stuff that's coming up. And once a week, I usually have a deposition I'm taking. So I will go to that and do that, usually remote. So that's a lot of fun.
And really quickly, what's a deposition?
Sorry, I should have mentioned that.
No, you're good. I just want to make sure anytime we have vocab words like that, I'm like, oh, great.
Deposition is essentially, and people are going to correct me on this, but the deposition is essentially where one of the parties sits down for an interview. Like what we're doing right now, basically a deposition. But it's on record, and, so I get to ask a whole lot of questions. I have a deposition tomorrow morning, actually, and so that's my day tomorrow. It's going to be taking somebody's deposition, which I'm excited for. I love doing. And so once a week, I usually have that, and then it's generally it. I really like my job. I like what I do. It's a ton of fun. Greenberg's awesome. Another plug, alongside BYU. I highly recommend, working at Greenberg Traurig. Great place to be. And yeah, I like what I do. It's fun. My day-to-day is more exciting than it used to be in law school, I'd say, and used to be before law school.
And more practical.
More practical.
That's what we hear a lot.
Right. Yeah, definitely more practical. But yeah, more exciting, which I never thought it would be. I thought I'd be at work and I'd always just be like, oh, it's just work. But now I'm like, no, this is actually pretty cool and exciting.
That's good to hear.
Lovely,
And I think there are students who are like, it's my life, am I just going to be dragging my feet the entire time? Which I'm sure that there are moments where you feel discouraged, and there are moments when you are overwhelmed with all the things that you have to get done. Absolutely. But it sounds like you have your system of prioritizing what the deadlines are first, and then going from there, and still finding time for yourself and your family. Yeah. So that's great. And Shubham, you worked on matters involving the SEC, the DOJ, and large-scale litigation. What was that experience like, especially early on in your career?
Oh, it was fantastic. And I think GT did a great job at putting me on those cases as soon as I got off the bat, which was very appreciative. And, I got to do some large scale SEC DOJ work my first couple of years, and it's fantastic. And it really opened my eyes as to just how important our pillars of the government are. And I think the biggest thing that I learned from it was, and this is me going on a nerd rant, but like it kind of showed me just how important our Constitution is. Not just our Constitution, like everything that comes with it, the three branches of government, the checks and balances, the necessity to make sure that each branch is kept under control. And that's something I learned because I was actively a part of the judicial process. Like we were doing very important things, and we still are. And so in doing those things, like it made me feel like, okay, I'm a part of something bigger than myself, and I'm protecting a process that is now 250 years. It's
crazy.
It's crazy. 250 years
still
in tradition.
Young,
still
but
young.
It's like
still young.
Birth of the country,
right?
Yeah.
And so it for lack of a better term, it puts pressure on you to make sure that those pillars of 250 years are upheld.
You're upholding that, yeah.
And
absolutely.
to make sure that people don't get away with things that they shouldn't, and people, are held accountable. And so accountability, and just realizing that it's important that we protect, especially the judicial branch. And so that was one of my biggest takeaways, was learning that, we have to protect the judicial branch and keep the power separate. And so that was something that I really enjoyed learning, because, no matter how many times your bar prep course knocks it down on you, no matter how many times your con law professor tells you this is important, it doesn't really feel real until you see it in action. And you're like, okay, no, I am doing something important. And I'm not saying this is like, oh, I'm doing such an important job. No, it's just you're protecting the political process, the judicial process. And that's important because, 250 years of history have held on to that.
Right.
And hopefully a lot more than 250 to come. So.
Yeah. And honestly, you're a small percentage of those that are practicing attorneys in the country. And I feel like sometimes that, you said it's important work, but sometimes it can get, puts a lot of pressure to, like, you have this background of really great experience. You went to law school, you were nervous there, and you felt like you didn't understand a lot of the terminology there. And then all of a sudden you're in a practice area where you're learning, and sometimes you're like, I don't know, am I adequate enough? Am I sufficient? And it can be a lot of pressure thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm upholding the Constitution right now. But imposter syndrome is also something that we've talked about a lot. And I know that law schools are talking more about this because it's very evident that students experience this as they're going into law school, and even those who are going into practice areas. What has that experience been like for you? Have you experienced it?
Oh, a ton.
Okay.
Every
Some
day.
people don't, which is, I'm like, to those who don't, I'm like, okay, how do you feel? And I just would love to learn more about what your experience with that has been like.
Oh, man.
And what you would offer as advice for students who are currently experiencing that, whether as a pre-law student or actively in law school.
100%. Just fake it. Just fake it. That's been my strategy since day one. It's, I realized I'm not, like I mentioned, one of the first things I said was I knew I wasn't going to be good enough in terms of grades, right? I knew I wasn't going to compete against the English majors and do that, do what I would want to do. And so I just faked it. It's still till today, a lot of times, I think confidence is key. Definitely overconfidence is bad, right? You don't want to have too much.
You don't want to be prideful.
Yeah. I try to make sure I have a good medium, but I know I fail a lot of times. But I think the biggest thing that has worked, well, not worked, but the one thing that I do, and I hope this is something that works for me, but it's just faking it. It's knowing that look, nobody really knows what they're doing, right? At the end of the day,
some just show it differently.
Yeah, if you just believe that nobody really knows what they're doing and just have full-on confidence to do it. And there's one quote that I really like. I can't remember who said it. I think it was actually a podcaster, Shay Serrano. He's a basketball guy. I love Shay. And Shay once said that there are people much, much, much dumber than you doing much, much more incredible things than you. And that I wake up and I try to think about that almost every day, because it's yeah. And how have those people done it? They've just been confident. They've been confident. They've done it first and then asked for not forgiveness, but asked for permission or other things later. And that's the other thing where it's there's so many reasons not to do something. I had so many reasons not to go to law school. Yeah. So many. I had basically everything had to fall into place for me to go to law school. And I had so many reasons not to do it, but I just did it. And I was like, you know what? I'll deal with the fallout later. And that's one thing that I really I've enjoyed, where it's just do it. Just do it. Just apply to law school. Apply to law school, apply to Harvard, apply wherever you want to go. Just do it. What's the worst they're going to say? No? Sure.
And that's it.
That's it. What's the worst that's going to happen? No. And that's fine. to know if you don't try anyway. So yeah, just, fake it, and just be confident, but don't be overconfident, but be confident enough where, it's going to work out. And, I feel like I stress a lot for somebody who more often than not, things always work out. And I feel like that's present across the board, where I feel like a lot of times we do things and we're like, yeah, this is not going to happen. This is not going to happen. This is not going to happen. But then everything works out anyway. And so it's like, just do it. Don't be scared. Just do it. Don't let your dreams be dreams, Yeah.
And that's kind of how you overcame those ideas of self-doubt in your mind. You're just do it. I mean, be confident, not too confident.
I just didn't listen to myself. I was like, I know you don't want me to do this, but I'm just going to do it just to prove you wrong. And
And what does confidence look like to you now compared to earlier?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think I've tried to mellow my confidence now. And I think before before I used to be very loud. I still am very loud. But I used to be very loud, very talkative, and very outwardly confident. And now I like to I'm working towards being more confident in silence, which is much harder than you think it would.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to talk less, and I'm trying to, not be the most talkative guy in a room, which is a juxtaposition of what we've done this past hour. But and that's honestly much harder. It's much harder to be silently confident than it is to be out loudly confident. So.
I feel like it kind of allows you to exude this aura, though, about yourself. You're like, okay, like I've got this. I do have confidence in myself that I can do this. Ultimately, and other people on the show on the podcast, I should say, have said this too, like, just do it. Yeah. Just try. Because like you said, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Someone's going to say no, and that's okay. That door has closed. There are other doors there.
And that door was closed anyway if you didn't ask. So it was always closed. And if you didn't ask, it's going to remain closed.
There you go. So I love that.
So all you're doing is knocking. You're not doing anything else but asking.
You're just knocking.
Yeah. And if you don't knock, you're not trying. So
I love that.
Gotta knock.
I love that. Well, and you also mentioned that one of the most impactful lessons you learned was celebrating the success of other people.
Absolutely.
Can you talk to us a little bit about that as well?
So one time I was on a panel at the law school, and I can't remember who. Somebody mentioned that, one of the biggest things that they had learned was celebrating other people's success. And that has remained with me since then, because it's, you're going to go to law school, and your friends, I promise you, your friends are going to do much cooler things than you will do. And there will be times where you're going to be like, why not me? Like, why didn't I get that job? Why didn't I get that fellowship?
Yeah.
Why didn't I get that opportunity to be, doing a semester abroad in Korea, or, things like that.
Right.
And you're always going to have that. But I think the one thing that law school taught me was, and specifically this, this conversation, the one at the law school, was that you have to learn how to celebrate your friends and your family's successes and and other people's successes. Because if you don't, like, it's just I've experienced this, where one, it makes you miserable, where you're always like, why not me? Why not me? But apart from that, why not me? I like to think of it as like, there's enough seats on the table for all of us, right? Like
there's a seat at the table.
There's a seat at the table for all of us.
Everyone.
And if we can collectively uplift each other into a better society, a better community, a better world for all of us, that to me is much better than, being miserable about something that somebody else got. And it's not just helped me in terms of law, right? Like, not just law school. And, like, I like to think of my law as being a very small part of my life. But, not very small, but it's a big part of my life. But I like to separate, like, work and law and, my home life. And I've tried to, like, make sure that applies everywhere, where I'm like, no, I'm happy for my friends. I'm happy for my family. I'm happy for everybody. And I'm going to make sure that it's, something that I celebrate and something that I'm not
jealous of.
About. Yeah. And jealousy and, like, all of that. It's just bad juju that you don't want.
It's like, uplift where you can, and you never know, like, that can come back to you. But why dwell on something, he got it at the OCI instead of me, or and I think especially in such a competitive field as many would call the legal field is, why do you think it's so important that people practice this now, or start practicing it?
Because it's only going to get worse. Like, once you get into working, you're gonna people are gonna have different bonuses. People are gonna have different positions. Maybe you don't make partner. Maybe you don't make off counsel. Maybe you don't do this. And maybe you don't get picked for this case, or maybe this. And this is just work, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's so much more than that. And I think just setting a tone of not miserableness, can go a long way. And I'm not saying I'm perfect at this. I definitely, try my hardest, but it's definitely very hard, and I'm still working on it. But it's something that I felt helped me in law school, where I was able to celebrate my friends, you know, and other people too, just achieving incredible things. And
just makes the experience better.
it makes it more
Sounds like,
fun. It
yeah.
makes it more fun. It's-
Like, why not?
Exactly.
Say congratulations to somebody and really mean it.
Exactly.
Right? I really appreciate that. And looking back at your journey, Shubham, what are some of the things that you wish you knew earlier on in your career?
Oh, I wish I was never super stressed all the time. I feel like I was always stressed my 1L year. It's like, am I going to get a
Really?
job? Am I going to get a job? 2L year, same thing. I was like, am I going to do this?
Yeah.
It always works out. It just works out.
Yeah.
It always works out for everybody. From 99.99% of people that I knew,
Works out.
it always works out. Like,
Definitely not thinking that right now.
yeah.
I can guarantee you. I know there's some students that have reached out to me. They're like, Sabrina, I don't know what's happening. I'm like, you're going to be totally fine.
You're going to be fine. Just work
Yeah.
out, take a deep breath, do some yoga.
Do some yoga. Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be just fine.
What
Yeah.
does making it mean to you now?
Uh,
And how has that definition changed over time? So talk to me about that.
I think just making sure that I can be the best, son and brother that I can be, first of all, being the best.
Okay.
But more so than that, making sure that everybody in my life is set, and that I'm set, and that, a lot of time before, back in the day, I felt like my goals were different. Like you mentioned, like, like making it meant going to law school. I felt like I'd made it.
Yeah.
And then making it meant getting a big law job. Then I was like, oh, I felt like I made it. And then
Yeah.
that definition changes. But now I don't have like a consistent definition. I want it to be something that is
okay.
evolving, but
Yeah.
more focused on how much I can do to take care of others around me.
I love
More
that.
than, I don't know. I feel like the older I get, I realize that the things that I wanted 4 years ago were all stupid. And now I'm like, okay, I don't know if I want a private jet. It'd be nice, but it's not something that I'm like waking up and being
Yeah.
like, I need a private jet. No, Delta's fine for the most part.
Delta's great.
For the most part, but yeah.
Yeah. Wait, that's amazing. I think so. Your personal achievement isn't necessarily your why. Maybe that's part of it, but your biggest why, it sounds like your family,
Absolutely.
and your
Yeah.
future,
Without a shadow of doubt.
Yeah.
I think they've been great to me, and
Yeah.
we've been through a lot, and I want to make sure that I can take care of everybody. So it's awesome.
Well, I'm sure.
I'm grateful to be in this position. A lot of people are not, and
Yeah.
grateful that I even get the opportunity to take care of my people. So
And I'm sure those that are listening that are, part of your family and your friends are like, yes, we're just so proud of Shubham.
I
and
hope
I
so.
know they are. They
I
came
hope
to the fellowships discussion
right.
last time. I loved meeting. I think I met your brother and your
Yeah,
mom.
yeah,
That
yeah.
was fantastic.
they're great.
And what habits or decisions do you think really got you here? And you could even talk really briefly about what, like, is there a family mantra? Is there
I think
something
discipline.
that you're
100% discipline. I mean, 100% discipline. It required a lot of discipline. I mean, it still does. Like,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm currently actually studying for the California bar because I want to be barred in 2 different states and,
Oh, wow.
and
Okay.
improve my,
Yeah.
not likability, but marketability in that way.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of cases in California, so this makes sense. But like the reason why I'm doing that is because, it's discipline. It's hard work. I work a ton every day. I study a ton every day. But I still make sure to have time for myself and my family, and I still go on trips as much as I can. But I think a lot of that is discipline, right? Like, there's always going to be things that you want to do,
Right.
that are more fun than what you're doing right now. But like, I'm going to go home after this and I'm going to study for the next 4 hours. Like
Wow.
I worked all day this morning. I'm going to have a depot tomorrow. I'm going to study after that. But it's like,
And you just got back from a flight.
I just landed, and so, it's a lot of it is just discipline. And I'm not saying that I have incredible discipline. I'm working on it. But being in law school, like I lived, an hour away. Like I wasn't living in Provo.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So I had to commute every day, and that required discipline of
Wow.
going down there every day and setting extra 2 hours for yourself. That meant less time on my phone, less Instagram, less Twitter. Which if you follow me on Twitter, you know how active I am. But but anyway, and so yeah, I think discipline is the most important thing. And I know it's cliche, but if you get that part down, everything else is easy.
And honestly, I think that's the hardest part to
Yeah.
get down. So that's really great advice. Last piece of advice, and then we'll go into here for some of the rapid fire questions.
Okay, awesome.
In a sentence or a phrase, Shubham, what is your final kind of piece of advice for those listening? Again, those that are listening are pre-law students, either in undergrad, some are, have been graduated for a while, and then some are even that are listening are in law school right now. So what is your piece of advice that you would give to them?
Don't let anybody stop you.
Yeah.
do not let anybody say you're not good enough. I think that's my biggest advice. And, I had a lot of that. I had a lot of people tell me your grades were not good enough. I had a lot of people tell me this is not good enough, that is not good enough.
Yeah.
I never let it affect me because I knew who I was. And I knew that if I got into an interview room, I'm going to wow whoever sits on the other side. And like that was my mantra was, I know myself better than you'll ever know me. And I'm not going to let other people
Which is true.
bring me down. And so, don't let other people bring you down. Don't let yourself bring you down. Just do it. You are incredibly smart. Yeah.
That's awesome. I think they're just like, yes, Mom, thank you so much.
Oh, no.
That's terrific. Thank you so much.
Of course.
That's pretty much the end of our huge questions. And I think, with the recap of imposter syndrome, with discipline and knowing your why, and also being okay with having so many different turns when going to law school, that it's fine and that it will just work out. You've said that several times, discipline, and it'll just work out, and to believe in yourself. Yeah. So I really appreciated everything that you've shared, Shubham. And it's my pleasure. I love listening to this, and it's just teaching me more and hopefully helping those that are listening as well. But we'll close off with some really fun rapid fire questions.
I love these questions. I'm excited.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So what is the favorite place that you've traveled to?
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question. I thought about this for a while. I got to say Zanzibar, Tanzania.
Whoa. Okay, wait, really quickly. Okay. Why?
It's just a small island with a beach. That's all there is to it. And Freddie Mercury's house. There's nothing else. But it's the most incredible place on the planet. Please go.
Okay. One word your colleagues would use to describe you.
High energy.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of, I got that. So I'm in agreement with your colleagues.
Maybe I go very high energy.
Favorite podcast, book, or TV show?
Oh my gosh, this is so good. I thought about this for a while. I'm reading Project Hail Mary, which is an incredible movie.
I just saw reading that.
Oh my gosh, the movie was
incredible. You saw it already?
It was so good.
I watched it in IMAX. Tuesday.
It's so good. It's so good.
Glad.
Favorite TV show though? Oh my gosh, I would be remiss if I didn't say Game of Thrones. I'm the biggest Game of Thrones nerd. Okay. The last season, not the biggest fan, but seasons 1 through 7, I've probably rewatched like every winter. So
there you go. I haven't seen it, but I know
it's the best.
Dracarys and
I know.
There's these terms.
Oh yeah. Or Curb Your Enthusiasm. That's another one.
There you go.
I love Curb. Yeah.
Okay. If you were not a practicing lawyer, what would you be doing?
I would probably be a sports reporter.
I could see that.
That's probably what I would do.
Wow.
I love every sport.
Really?
Well, mostly. So, yeah.
Wow. And would you have picked a specific kind of sport?
Such a good question. Probably soccer. I used to write for a soccer blog, and then I started writing for a football blog, and so I like sports. Sports are fun.
Okay, but that's amazing.
I don't know. If not that, I probably probably sales. Somewhere where I got to talk. I just want to talk.
Yeah, for sure, with people. So I could totally see you being a sports commentator. That's fantastic.
If you're listening, Joe Buck, please. I love you.
Okay, and then this last question here, I'll just ask you to close your eyes while I ask them, then you can open them right after. But imagine the version of yourself in high school or early college before you ever envisioned becoming an attorney. If you could speak to that younger Shubham, what wisdom would you offer him on the path ahead?
That's a great question. Stick with it. Stick with it. It's going to go better than you'd ever imagined. Stick with it, work hard, and be disciplined. Yeah.
That's literally the best advice ever.
Oh, no.
And I'm sure he'd be like, I'll get there one day. He's like, I'm stressing someone out, but this is fantastic. Yeah. Well, that was amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your story, Shubham, and for your insight with us today. And to everyone listening, this has been Shubham Shah, and this is the UCLI Legal Lounge. Thank you so much.